Hello and welcome to Rise and Unwind. I'm AV. Each week, we connect with people all over the country to spotlight things you can check out right in your own neighborhood. On this week's show, we've got a little bit of everything, such as this.
Rhubarb from our garden and some fresh lime. This is our strawberry rhubarb and a zest of lime, ready to drink cocktail.
Once I was stabilized and I was sent home, I was given 2 to 4 months to live unbeknownst to myself.
I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're...
All that and more right here on Rise and Unwind.
There's something powerful about a song that feels real, like it was pulled straight out of someone's life. Country artist Harper Grace has a new single called If Daddy Says No, and it's all about that push and pull between following your hearts and honoring where you came from. She's a Texas native with more than 17 million career streams and national TV appearances under her belt, and now she's stepping into country radio in a very big way. Harper Grace, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm so wonderful. How are you? Thanks for having me.
We're doing good over here. We were listening, and that song just feels really personal. What was happening in your life when you wrote If Daddy Says No?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was in a relationship that I thought I was so in love, and I was ready to run away, get married, and do all the things. But thank the Lord, because my dad said no. So this is a very, very true, very personal story. And at the time I wrote this song, I was really stuck in between what the right decision was. I grew up in Texas. I have been so close with my dad ever since I was little. We went to father-daughter camps together, and I've always, always respected his opinion and what he thought of really anything. And at this time, I was in a relationship that did not honor me very well at all, as well as didn't honor my dad or my family. And so that really, really ate me up on the inside, which is what inspired If Daddy Says No. And it was a scary thing to write, and it's been a scary thing to talk about, but I'll tell you, the listeners of getting the opportunity of playing this song live have really been the thing for me to be encouraged to actually share this point of my life, because after I've played it live, I've heard so many different people's story of whether their dad actually did say no, and it was, a really bad relationship and they are no longer together and went through a divorce or whatever it may be, or their dad said no and they actually didn't end up getting married, or their dad didn't, chime in and they wish they did, or their dad did say no and they're living happily ever after. So there's so many different outcomes. And when I wrote If Daddy Says No, the lyrics don't have a resolution in the song, so that the listener is able to piece together what it is that their story might be in the midst of the lyrics. And so for me, my resolution was my dad did say no, not to love, but to remind me that true love is worth waiting for, and finding somebody that really, really honors and respects you as a human being, as well as your family and what matters most to you is important.
And you've already had some huge milestones, national TV performances, 17 million streams, even a Netflix sync. How does this single feel different as your first one going into country radio?
Honestly, it feels like I ripped a piece out of my heart and put it on paper and then passed it out to a bunch of people. And I think that that's the beauty in it. I think that I always have fun writing music. I always enjoy telling, fun stories with Take It to the Grave, Getaway, that's in the Netflix movie. But this song was so personal and so vulnerable. And I just wanted that to set the tone for this year, especially coming out with new music towards the end of the year as well. This is kind of this waterfall trickling in on an album, hopefully soon, and the album would be called Dear Heart. So these are really pages just ripped out of my heart of areas of my life that people don't quite know about, that I'm ready to share because of having the opportunity of playing them live for a couple years now, and knowing that so many other people have also walked through these situations and these experiences in much different ways. But yeah, it does feel different because it feels vulnerable.
All right, here's a question I like to ask artists and people that are creators. who is an inspiration for you that is outside of the type of that is not a musician or somebody like that, like a country singer, that is outside doing their own art? Who is some in another form of art is an inspiration to you that you use in your own world and building creativity?
In another form of art, I think I spend a lot of time listening to music, so that is definitely something that in the most artistic thing has drawn me. But I do listen to a lot of podcasts and a lot of preachers. And I think that that's a whole nother art, is bringing scripture to life and talking about it. Jensen Franklin is someone that I really look up to. Jonathan Pokluda is someone that I look up to. Sadie Robertson. There's this wonderful podcast called Girls Gone Bible. I listen to that a lot. So I think maybe that's another piece of art in my personal opinion that I really draw a lot of inspiration from.
And for people who discovered you for the first time, how would you describe your sound, and what would you want them to feel when they actually hear this track?
I would describe it, my sound in general would be a soulful country with a little bit of classic added to it. I would hope that when people hear If Daddy Says No, that they could do some, maybe some searching of what that personal piece is that is attached to that song, and know that there's ways to get it out and talk about it, and music is a wonderful way to piece personal bits of your own life, whether that's If Daddy Says No or your favorite artist. But yeah.
Harper Grace, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. You can check out Harper Grace's new single, If Daddy Says No, when it hits streaming platforms February 27th. And to learn more, you can follow her journey. Visit harpergracexo.com and find her on social media. Harper, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful time. Top tier, 10 out of 10.
Well, thank you. Most people think it could never happen to them until somebody suddenly takes over a property and the legal process turns into a total nightmare. A&E's series Squatters follows Flash Shelton and his team as they help homeowners reclaim their homes in some pretty tense and emotional situations. Flash pretty much first got in this world after dealing with some squatters in his own family home, and now he's helping people across the country. Welcome to the show, Flash. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, your story started when squatters took over your mom's home. What was that experience like for your whole family?
I kept it from my family, actually, until later. But I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son. And so, my family, I couldn't tell my mom. She was still distraught over my dad. I just told her that I needed a lease so I could go up and be on the property to do some repairs. And, it was successful. I learned a lot about squatters, and I out-squatted them. I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
And now that the show is out, what kind of reaction have you been getting from some of the viewers?
Everyone's excited. And, I think that the fact that the awareness is, it's teaching people what a squatter is, and that they are normal people. They are just entitled and figured, that there's a flaw in the system. They should be able to take advantage of it. I think, people truly understanding that squatters are not homeless people. So squatters and a homeless in a housing crisis have nothing to do with each other.
And some of these situations on the series tend to be really intense. Was there one case in the season that surprised even you?
Yeah, I had a case where, there's several people, and, I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're, committing crimes on the property or something. And, a lot of times it's, I have to look into it, and I don't find any evidence of that. But in other cases, we just have to go in extremely careful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, including a squatter. So I think that the fact that, it's just, there are different types of cases every single day and different stories. So at this point, it's like, I don't know that anything surprises me.
And what do most people misunderstand about the squatting laws and how difficult these situations can become for homeowners?
I think that there is a misconception about squatter laws and tenant laws. Tenant laws in a lot of states were written under the guides that a homeowner is rich and a tenant is poor. But anyone who owns a home knows that just because you own a mortgage doesn't make you rich. And tenants are not all poor. Some people just choose to rent. So, it's I think that there's a misconception about the laws themselves and the fact that there is no line between a squatter and a tenant. So squatters are assuming tenant rights.
And after helping in more than 100 cases, what advice would you give homeowners to help protect themselves before something like this happens to them?
Documentation, like being able to document when an intruder enters and how they enter. In today's day and age, there is no excuse not to have a camera that you can monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. When somebody walks up your driveway, you get alerted. When somebody goes into your mailbox, you get alerted. If you can monitor when they enter, they are now arrested as a trespasser and they will never become your squatter.
Flash Shelton, I really want to thank you for joining me today. You can catch episodes of Squatters now on A&E with streaming available on the A&E app and at ANETV.com. Flash, thanks for joining me again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
A lot of action franchises try to go bigger every time, but Jack Ryan Ghost War is also digging into trust, loyalty, and what service really costs. The new film continues the world's fans already know while standing on its own for people jumping in fresh. And joining us today is the legendary Wendell Pierce, who returns as James Greer. Wendell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Greer has always been one of the most grounded characters in this world. What do you enjoy most about stepping back into him for Ghost War?
The character of James Greer really reflects some of the people that I met doing the research of this character. Real CIA officers, retired, who have kind of given me their true north to form a more perfect union, and some of the debate that they have within the agency, and but understanding that the shared idealism of working on the mission, which is to form a more perfect union and protect that. Those are shared values. And so stepping back into the role, that's the thing that I'd love to portray. As an actor, you're a student of human behavior. And what you want to do is create the world so strong that it induces that behavior. And that's the great thing about reliving a role like James Greer.
One thing John Krasinski mentioned is that the story works for both longtime fans and for people who've never watched the series. Was that something you felt like while you were making it too?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be familiar with the series at all. You can come to this fresh. You will see the history that we have as characters. You will see our relationship. You will see our expertise. And then also you have this story of what's happening now, this casual act that I ask a favor of Jack Ryan to do for me that actually ignites a global espionage chase. And so it is one of those things that people who have seen the series can come to and appreciate the next level of where we take the characters, and people who come to this fresh and new. But what we do over the course of a series, put into a 2-hour movie, is just heightened and it makes it a lot more intense.
And you said it's been heightened, it's more cinematic, a little bigger, but it also keeps the political and moral tensions that Tom Clancy's stories are known for. What kind of balance does this film strike between action and some of the character?
Well, I think it's very important. I'm very proud of the fact that we keep the debate happening about the clarity of mission and clarity of what values are, and the political debate that happens around that, because that is happening within the world, what happens within the agency, and it makes you, as the viewer, look at it and decide what your values are. That's the forum of what filmmaking should be about, the place where we collectively come together, reflect on who we are, decide where we want to go, decide what our values are, maybe bring that into our lives. And so I love that we have that debate, and at the same time have some of the best cinematic thrill sequences of action comparable to the French Connection and Marathon Man and all of that. So I'm very proud of the cinematic and the debate that happens within the film.
And fans, they know you from so many incredible roles from over the years, but there's something about Greer that people really connect with. What do you think keeps audiences invested in this character and this franchise?
I try to make James Greer a everyman. That people look at it and go, there but by the grace of God go I. That they can see themselves in James Greer. He's a man of pragmatism. He's a family man. He's flawed as he tries and did not succeed in keeping his family together. But with all of that, he is principled. And he attempts to hang on to his principles and values. And people will see themselves in that, Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's pragmatic and at least tries to live by some sort of moral code. And that's who we all are, and that's who we are when we dream of who we can become. So that's the thing that makes him prescient, and personal. And that's what I pride myself on when I try to portray him.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. Jack Ryan, Ghost War premieres May 20th on Prime Video. Wendell Pierce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Habitat for Humanity is celebrating its 50th anniversary this week with the Jimmy and Rosalind Carter Work Project in Atlanta, bringing together more than 1,000 volunteers to help build affordable housing for families in need. Joining us today is Charlita Stebbins-Walker with Habitat for Humanity and Ty Robertson from Wells Fargo to talk about the project, the impact these homes have on communities, and why partners like this matter so much. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Charlita, tell us a little about the Carter Work Project and the communities it helps each year. What makes this build so different from other Habitat projects?
So this is an amazing, magical experience, really. Once a year for a week, we get volunteers together from across corporations, communities, but really the globe, to build together in a community for families. In this case in Atlanta, there are 1,000 volunteers here for the week. We're building 24 houses for an amazing group of families that are going to benefit from this amazing generosity from our partners. So it's very different. It's an amazing a chance to get together with partnerships from across many, many areas. And again, 5 days, 24 homes, that's pretty special.
Why is it so important for Habitat to work with corporate partners on projects like this?
So we could not do this work without partners like Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo has been a long-term partner. They have been in so many areas of the housing ecosystem as we've worked together to support making sure we have accessible, affordable, and resilient homes and communities across this nation. And we, again, can't do it without our partnerships. Some partners donate products. Some partners fund the building process. Many of them engage in building the homes themselves. This is truly a way that we can connect to make sure that we're bringing affordable housing to families. And again, we couldn't do it without them. It's an amazing partnership.
Ty, Wells Fargo has partnered with Habitat for a long time now. Why has supporting this mission stayed important for your organization?
It's important for our organizations because our team members live and work in these communities, and we want to be sure these communities are strong. It's important for us to continue to invest. We've been proud of more than a 30-year partnership with Habitat International and several local affiliates across the country, being able to not only increase home ownership, but access. So it's just very important for us to engage, to stay involved, and also to be sure our team members are engaging as well in the communities we serve.
You've also got volunteers helping with the build this year. What's it like for your team and for other volunteers to actually see these homes coming together in person?
So this has been amazing for our team. Certainly being here at Langston Park, 24 homes in 5 days, just wonderful and phenomenal. Seeing thousands of volunteers. But for us, for our Wells Fargo home, we're actually building alongside our homeowner. So we're having the opportunity to learn her story, to learn her journey, to know the impact that this home is going to have for her and for her family. And that certainly is very impactful for us, certainly going beyond dollars, cents, but being able to see people and the impact of people and the impact of community. So we're just thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to build alongside our home builder we're a homeowner. We're thrilled to build alongside so many other partners that are here today.
Charlita, where can people go if they'd like more information or want to get involved?
So Habitat for Humanity is in every state across this country, and we're in 60 countries across the globe. So there is a habitat near you. All you do is put your zip code in to habitat.org, and you can find the nearest way to volunteer or donate. Whatever you can do, we would love to have your support. Housing affordability is something that is important to all of us. So thank you, and it's habitat.org.
Charlita and Ty, thank you both for joining us today, and you have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Getting a serious health diagnosis can feel overwhelming, especially emotionally. Eric Bornstein was once told he only had months to live, and he says emotional support became a huge part of helping him move forward. He joins us this morning for Mental Health Awareness Month. Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So, Eric, for people just hearing your story for the first time, can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah. So 5.5 years ago, I was home and I collapsed. Spent 22 minutes unconscious in the bedroom. Was sent to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center here in Los Angeles, where I spent 16 days in the intensive care unit, where I was diagnosed with an extremely rare lung and heart disease called pulmonary arterial hypertension, a chronic terminal disease and a disease with no cure.
And you've talked about how important emotional health became during recovery. What helped you make that mindset shift?
So living with PAH is extremely isolating. You're suffocating from the inside. And that isolation led to depression. Once I was stabilized and I was sent home, I was given 2 to 4 months to live unbeknownst to myself. I had just made a decision that I wasn't going to die. When I went home, I started to walk. And that walking both helped mitigate the side effects of the medications that I was on, but it also helped with positive mental health. And I've learned that positive mental health is equally as important as the drugs that I'm on that are keeping me alive today. And I've learned that positive mental health can be as simple as finding something you love to do. And for me, that's walking. But for others, that might be playing the classic guitar, that might be playing chess, that might be swimming. But for anybody dealing with any sort of adversity or living with any chronic disease, positive mental health, I couldn't stress it enough. It's so important.
And a lot of people watching may be supporting a loved one through a chronic illness right now. What advice would you give patients and caregivers trying to take care of both physical and emotional health?
Yeah, people forget about the caregiver. And I have an amazing wife and kids at home who have been there from day one for me. But I talk a lot about, pieces of my pie, positive mental health, nutrition, exercise, and my village. And that village, my wife, kids, community, doctors, psychologists, and CVS Health has been there from day one and is critical in the life of somebody living with a chronic disease or for anybody facing adversity. CVS Health has been there through Quorum, sending a nurse home, being just a soothing voice to my wife and kids at a moment when we needed it most. I get my monthly medications from them. I've never missed a dose. And they've got online access for support for an online pharmacist. So just having them in my corner and having them part of my village has been so important. But having that village, having people that love you, knowing you're not alone, is amazing and important.
And as you had mentioned, walking became part of your daily routine. It eventually earned you the nickname The Walking Guy. How did that happen?
So the mile turned into 2, it eventually turned into 10, and I now walk 13 to 15 miles a day. I have been given the nickname The Walking Guy, and it's become my identity. And that identity has become an amazing opportunity for me to not only raise awareness, but to raise money for this disease that I live with. We started Where's EB about 3 years ago. And we're going on our 3rd year. We're going to have a fundraiser this fall. And it culminates with me walking from LA to San Diego, all to raise awareness for this rare disease that I live with, and to raise money for an organization called Team Phenomenal Hope. Their mission is to provide assistance and programs for underserved patients all over the country living with pulmonary hypertension. And I'm proud to say that over the last 2 years, we've raised about $450,000 for that organization.
And what message do you hope people take away from your story today?
Really 3. Number 1, when you're sick, don't ignore your health. It almost cost me my life. Number 2, positive mental health can be as simple as finding something you love to do. So find something you love to do. Number 3, everybody in life either has been faced or will be faced with that proverbial, by being hit by that proverbial 2x4, that adversity. When you do, rely on your village. There are people that love you. You're not alone. And between those three, there's hope.
That's great advice. And where can people go if they want to learn more?
You can go to cvshealth.com, or you can go to whereiseb.org, or you can follow my journey on Instagram at whereiseb.
Eric Bornstein, I want to thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Summer parties always sound relaxing until somebody ends up spending the whole night making drinks instead of enjoying the company. This season, a lot of people are leaning into something called flavor matchmaking. Simple cocktail pairings that make hosting feel easy, fun, and a little more elevating. Joining us now is Geoff Dillon, founder of Dillon Small Batch Distillers, with a few ideas to help make summer entertaining less stressful. Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you for having me.
So, Geoff, when you say flavor matchmaking, what exactly does that mean?
I think it's a term we're using to describe pairing a drink with a moment. And being in Niagara, we're in this beautiful fruit growing region. Summer's coming up, stuff's in bloom, greenery is coming out. The summer right now is our moment.
And what are some easy flavor combinations people can try this summer for backyard parties or get-togethers?
I've got a great one with me right here. I'm honestly just leaning on our neighbors. So we've got an amazing strawberry farm across the street, rhubarb from our garden, and some fresh lime. This is our strawberry rhubarb and a zest of lime, ready to drink cocktail. It's got the beautiful sweetness from the strawberry, the tartness from the rhubarb, and the acidity from that lime. It's a perfect summer drink.
Man, that sounds good. A lot of hosts want things to feel special without spending the entire event tending to food and drinks. What are some ways to simplify that?
This one I can help you with. I think I spent 10 years hosting incorrectly. Being a distiller, I think, or at least I thought that people wanted me to spend 10 minutes a cocktail and do something over the top. I've learned that being a good host is being relaxed. I no longer do that. Cocktail done, ready to drinks, building a garnish bar. I let guests garnish their own drinks. They feel a part of the process. They feel like they got to make some decisions. It elevates the whole thing and it frees me up to have a good party.
In your mind, what makes a great summer flavor pairing really work?
I mean, as a distiller, we're thinking balance just about all day long, every day. So whether it's the actual distilling side or the cocktail making side, it's all about balance here. In the summer, we can change our balance a little bit. We can go to a little more higher acid, less sugar. Anything too sweet in the summer, nobody's coming back for. We want that bright, fresh acid. And then here at the distillery, we love to add in some botanical or maybe an herb, give some complexity in the background. But certainly balance in both our cocktails and I think in life is the right answer here.
And where can viewers go if they want more information or ideas?
You can check us out at dillonsmallbatch.com. We've got a locator on there. You can find what retailers are stocking us. And of course, you can learn more about our cocktails.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Geoff. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's it for this week's Rise Unwind. I'm AV. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to keep up with the show, then you can find us on social media. Just search Rise Unwind on IG or Facebook. We've also got YouTube at Rise Unwind. You can find everything in one place at riseunwindtv.com. Thanks again for watching, and we'll talk at you soon.